Hello, Yajizan. Hopefully I pronounced that correctly. Congratulations on winning this month's spooky Halloween themed 11-second club with an amazing animation. My name is Jason Martinson. I've been a mentor since 2006 at Animation Mentor. I've been in the animation industry since 2002, working in video games and feature film. I've worked at many studios, including Sony and Blue Sky. My most recent project I finished was Ferdinand at Blue Sky, which comes out this Christmas. I spent a good portion of my career in video games as well. I worked at Naughty Dog for a long time. And I'm currently working for Moon Studios for the sequel to the Ori game, the Ori and the Will of Wisps. So I'm having a lot of fun. It's very cartoony, stylized game animation. I was traditionally trained, so I really appreciate that you've done this in the old school pencil and paper animation style. I'm sure you use a tablet these days, but it's good to see people doing this still. So let's talk about this assignment. First of all, let's just play through it once and appreciate it. So super cute. I love the design, and it's very appealing. And you set up your staging here really nice. I think if you had a chance to go back and do a few additions to this, it'd be nice if you could, like you did here, you shaded the background just a bit darker because she's in the shadow. Just do that to the background here, so the clam region and maybe some of the foreground here a little bit, like and splashes of areas, and obviously her, just for this first shot, was more in light, so they're separating foreground background just for clarity. I'm not saying you have to color the whole thing, but just doing something like that is simple, and just 2 layers will help it pop. For the first shot, I don't have too much really critical to say at all. It's all great. There's so much nice fluidity and really clear posing and appeal you have in your animation, in your eyes of these characters. And this is a very clear, nice kind of like direction where she's grabbing the pearl. It might be nice if you had a little more time and a little more distance. Right now that they're kind of overlapping almost. So you started this character a bit out here. And I like the idea of it being a little more suspenseful because I know it happens, the sound happens right away, but I'm just talking about like 10 more frames. And then when you actually do the creepy animation of the clothes, I think it's a bit strange that the character is noticing it before it, like as it starts moving. It's like almost like she's anticipating it even before the sound starts. So I might just keep it so she's focused and you don't really have that moment. It doesn't really make sense to have her pre-anticipating the danger. For the clothes animation, there's something I like to call pre-anticipation. You have this nice anticipation where it opens and then closes. So what might be nice to add to that is just a 1-frame pre-anticipation, where a pre-anticipation is where something goes the opposite direction of the anticipation. And it's only 1 frame and it's a very small amount. But it gives the animation like a little bit more of texture, and it lets the audience know, whoa, something's happening. So they don't really see it, they feel it, and then they notice the anticipation. So if you had 1 frame, so the edge of this here, right? 1 frame where it just moved down a little bit, and this is probably more than you would need, and then started to open, right? So maybe even half that amount, just for 1 frame, and then it starts to open, right? And it does its big, and then it starts to close. And I think you could probably get away with closing it more. I might even not all the way close it, but get it so it's almost closed. So you get something more like this. So here it'd be still kind of just hanging out there. You get a little bit of a down, and then it comes up. Doesn't need to come up necessarily more than you have it. And then as it drops, maybe you actually delay the drop here. So this is a frame or two later. So it drops faster and closes more, so it feels more scary. So it's like you get like this little anticipation, you know, and it feels more of a slam. And it's what it's called is an action cut. You can overlap action. So here, let's say your last frame on this would be this, and all you'd see is the little hands of this guy. And then the next frame, you would cut back to this, where it's still more open. But over the action, it feels good. Like they do that a lot in action movies. They show the punch coming through maybe on one shot, and it's not actually the impact, it's almost the impact. And then they cut to a different angle, and the arm is back here again, and they re-show that action, or like on a door slamming, or character hitting something. Sometimes they'll cut back a few frames. They don't always on action cut exactly what the next frame would be in real time. So I think that would be something worth experimenting with if you wanted to go back and edit that. For this main character, though, you have a really great, like, nice anticipation here. I love this little expanded. The eyes are very focused and appealing, and then great fluid, like, kind of lifting of the butt and dropping of the forearm. So you're getting a very organic breakdown where some parts are moving towards something, some parts are moving away, and it's not everything is moving together as one unit. So it feels very fluid and appealing. If anything, you could maybe reverse the curve even more because you have this great shape here, and then you kind of come up and you get this arc. I would maybe even reverse this so you get a little bit more of that kind of shape. And then as she, assuming it's a she, settles down into it a little bit more, you could even go this way, right? So you're just thinking about this reversing your C and S shapes, like going from this to this, you know. But it's feeling awesome, and there's nice continuity on the cut where she's moving to the left, and then she slides in. Has this great expression here, compression, and then I love how the asymmetry, how you're opening one eye first, and you do this like little double take here. Oh, and you have great appealing mouth shapes here. Really good way to push the squash and stretch in the face here. I think you could push shapes more, potentially. Like, I love the drag you have on these little flippers, tentacles, sorry. And as she drops here, you know, I might just drag it a little more, and then you could get a frame. I'm drawing this on ones, and I know it's not twos, but where it's kind of pointed, and then you reverse it. So you're just pushing the shape changes a bit more. That's not a great drawing. I'm drawing with a mouse, so bear with me. I don't have my teeth on me. I'm broadcasting from Spain right now. Normally I live in Vancouver. Okay, so yeah, so something like that where you get like, you're pushing the shapes into more of a point, and then they can, you know, you get like that nice play, and then they can round back out again. So they come from something like this back into this, where they're nice and rounded, and you get that nice shape change. Same here. This is a great drag, and then here I would either potentially drag it a little bit more, or already, if you wanted to, push this shape into more of a point. Just cheating it. You're cheating it in the 2D drawing, and you could even push the squash and stretch a bit more, right? So on this frame here, I might stretch the body, losing some of the volume, just for a kind of a smear frame effect. And if you wanted to do this on ones, you definitely could get away with something like this. You might want to keep the volume of the actual skull area, but that way you get just a nicer squash and stretch shape change. Into something like that, right? And then you would go into this shape, basically. And this feels great. You could maybe over-exaggerate this overlap on this settle, so as she drops, these are coming up, right? And then you get a frame or two more where you have these kind of up as she's coming across from that quick action, and then they drop over a few frames. Not over one frame, but 2 or 3 more drawings down. So you're just getting a little more overlapping action on the tentacles. I love the little bubbles you have. Eye direction wise, I feel like she's looking up and then she turns here and she's still looking kind of up where she's going. And now she's kind of looking in the middle and then she's looking even farther left. It might be nice to lead this more. So I don't know if you'd actually start with the eye dart in this pose, like if you'd have a frame, you know, where you see the eyes. You can do a fun thing where you like smear the pupils. Drawing. And then they could be over here. And then you could, I don't know if you would even need to blink here. You get more time for the eyes to register. And then they would still be like leading this movement over. Not even too big, but it's just an idea. I'm not saying that you have to do it this way. You can definitely add a blink in here. But something like this might be fun. So you can see how her eyes now are leading this move, right? And you're, rather than closing her eyes, and because you haven't colored this, I don't know if you have planned on doing that. You're not getting when I close my eyes, they go from white and, you know, greenish and black pupil areas to flesh colored. So there's an obvious visual change. Now, in your line drawings here, when you're closing the eyes and you're opening the eyes, it's just a change from a line to a little dot. So it's not as visual of a change because it's not a color change. So just having that dot stay there, I think if you're just going to leave this as a rough animation test, might be more appealing. Yeah. She's just leading that move with her eyes, and then you do that here. Again, you could play with this eye direction and do another smear if you wanted a fun cartoony smear where, you know, I'm going to exaggerate it a bit. Frame. They just have the eyes kind of stretching from their previous point. Right. Boop. Maybe that was a little too squashy and stretchy, but when you do eye shifts, it's good to do them over 2 or 3 frames, and usually the first frame you move 95% of the way, and then the last frame or two is the last 5%, so you cushion in a little bit. Just having them pop a very big direction on one frame and not moving anymore is sometimes a little too jarring. It works okay on 2s if you have animated this. This all feels great. I love this little foot coming up. It's nice asymmetry. It's really nice. Again, here, it feels like the eyes are kind of tracking with the body. You might want to lead them a little bit more. Or you could try doing it the opposite. In this case, you could delay them. And that might be kind of nice. See how that looks. Because that way you're not always doing the same thing. So essentially, you're keeping the eyes behind, so they're still back here. Right, and then they blink. I think that feels a little cleaner there because you only got that one frame of changing. So she's looking behind herself, and then as she blinks and opens her eyes, it reveals wherever she's looking now. Oh, this feels amazing. And I love that you hit this pose and then you drift through it. It makes it feel like it's really underwater, so you keep that movement. Again, you could maybe push the squash and stretch here a little more if you wanted. A little more, especially in the lower part of the body, a little more stretch and a little more squash in that body. You get a shape change. Here it feels like she's pushing forward. If you look at the front line of her body, it's a bit of a wall. It doesn't move anymore. I would keep that drifting forward. So she's, she's shooting forward here, and then on this frame she's a little more forward. This frame she's a little more forward, and then she can slow her acceleration again, but don't have her do that big move and then just stop. So it feels like there's a little bit of stickiness. Here, this one feels better. She's drifting forward. Feels pretty nice. All this feels great. I love the little, here's your timing chart. Drift here. The drift here is kind of interesting because it looks like she pushes hard here, hits a wall a bit. I think you need a little more drift there. And then here, she doesn't do as strong of a push and drifts quite a bit. So that's why that first push doesn't feel right, because it's a hard push and she stops, and then that little push lets her move a lot more. So it'd be nice if that first push pushed her more. And I think the simple solution to that would simply to be, if I was animating this, would simply to be from here to here, maybe drift her farther, so all these poses are farther over this direction. And then when she does this big change here, maybe through these poses here, she drops sort of screen left, right? So this whole pose is more there. And then when you went to this, it's actually, over here. So that way you have this whole distance. So from frame 162, which is this frame, to 171, she can move this far. So 162, sure, if her head was here, you have that much distance you can cover in that drift screen right. And then from 171 on, your spacing would stay the same. Yeah, and at the end, there's a little bit of that too. This is all great. I think you might have overdone this little eyebrow twitch, a little distracting. I might have that not drop as much. A little bit of a pop. I like that you have a little compression there. So yeah, here, this all feels good. It just feels like this part here, this turn here, doesn't really make sense. She's moving backwards without pushing off anything, so it might be nice if these frames, when she's compressing, she's not moving screen left. She's still staying kind of where she is, so this frame would still be over here. You can maybe move down a little, compressing into your spot, and then sort of as she does this turn more in the spot, and then drift over. So it feels like she's kind of gaining some, it looks a little bit like she's getting pushed here. It's not self-propelled. And then here again is the same thing. She's kind of moving backwards on the spot as if she's connected to the ground, but because she's not connected to the ground, instead I feel like she'd want to pivot in space more. So this pose change feels not as much like she's underwater. So doing this move, if she's going to move her head left so much, you'd want the lower body to go right more. So you go from this shape to on this pose, something more like this. Right? So that way, it's more of a pivot around her center of mass, which is here. So if you're underwater, she can't just pivot off the ground. As she moves one thing left, the other thing is going to kind of drift to the right. So just some subtle spacing issues, and then at the end here, this is great. She turns and follows the fish. It might be nice if that fish came in a little more screen left because it's kind of hiding behind her head for readability, or if she was, positioned over here a bit more. But I didn't quite catch the fish when I first saw it. Anyways, that's all I got. Mostly, this is all like tiny little polishy things that you could do or you couldn't do, but the animation's amazing as is. And I look forward to seeing more of your work in the future. Awesome job and congratulations.